So here we are, moving right along with the Heart Sutra, and so we are at the point where Avalokiteshvara is saying the same is true of feelings, perceptions, formations, consciousness, and then he says, "Oh, Shariputra, not only is that empty, but all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear nor disappear, are not tainted nor pure, do not increase nor decrease." And hidden in that seemingly obvious little verse is a whole bunch of information and teaching. So Avalokiteshvara. So I was thinking about this. So last time I said that the talk was a riff on shunyata, or emptiness. So today I'm calling this knock, knock, knocking on emptiness door. So anyhow, Avalokiteshvara has annihilated the whole person. Form, feelings, not just our bodies, but everything that we experience and do internally as a human being. He's annihilated the whole person with emptiness. First form, and then the rest of the skandhas, our inner experience, sensations, our experience of them, what we think, and how we analyze. And we said last time that negation is not enough. We have to see both form and emptiness, and that Zazen is both form and emptiness. Sitting down and letting go. Simultaneously negating and affirming both form and emptiness, both relative and absolute. Living in the relative world of the skandhas and realizing its emptiness. Shohaku Okamura says that through this wisdom, living the Prajnaparamita, the wisdom of emptiness, we see that everything is emptiness. And through compassion, we return to relative truth and apply wisdom and compassion to the relative world, the world that we inhabit. Again, quoting Dogen, to follow the way of Buddha is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be illumined by the myriad dharmas. Living in the relative world, instead of separating ourselves into self and things, we see our circumstances as part of ourselves, and at the same time, we see ourselves as part of our circumstances. And this is the middle way. Having seen the emptiness of the self, Avalokiteshvara moves on to say, not only, as I said, not only is the self empty, but all dharmas are empty. Not only are we empty, but so is everything else. And he means both little d, meaning every object, everything that exists, everything that our senses perceive and that we can think about, but also big D, Dharma, all the teachings of the Buddha, as we'll see. He says that all little d dharmas are empty. That means that existence itself is empty. Existence does not exist. So to quote Dogen again, this is quoting Dogen in Okamura's book. When we speak of life, there is nothing other than life. When we speak of death, there is nothing other than death. Therefore, when life comes, we just face life. When death comes, we just face death. We should not be used by them or desire them. This present life and death is the life of Buddha. If we dislike it and try to get rid of it, we would lose the life of Buddha. If we desire to remain in life and death and attach ourselves to it, we would also lose the life of Buddha. So this is our super koan for today. The middle way asks us to be free from both ego attachment and from emptiness. And this is what we vow to do when we sit down and when we get up. standing, walking, sitting, and lying down. This is our practice. So we've negated the 5 skandhas and everything that the skandhas experience and everything that exists. Avalokiteshvara goes farther. He negates the classic 3 marks of existence, one of the Buddha's most essential teachings. The 3 marks of existence are impermanence, suffering, and no self. He's starting here systematically taking down all of the Buddha's big D dharmas. And he starts with this most basic teaching. Impermanence is empty. Suffering is empty. No self is empty. It's beyond no self. So, so he says, so Sohaku Okamura says that to negate means to free oneself from any view, even a Buddhist one. He says that if we take the Buddha's teaching as an opinion or view, it's no different from the preconceptions that we have about everything else. Even the Buddha's teachings are empty. Prajnaparamita is even beyond the Buddha's teaching. It's wisdom beyond wisdom. We can't seek after it. It's unattainable, as we say in the Bodhisattva vows. Our zazen is freedom even from this aspiration when we are released from wanting, even wanting enlightenment. Then life begins to reveal itself as it is. He goes on, we might think that there's something beyond phenomena, but emptiness is simply how form is. Form appears and disappears. That's the mark of existence called impermanence. Form is tainted or pure, tainted by greed, hate, delusion, clinging, getting, not getting. That's the mark of existence called suffering. Form increases and decreases. And a better translation, he suggests, is form is either complete or defiled. And that's the mark of existence called no self. But the marks of existence are also empty. Red Pine says that the Buddha's early teaching was that whatever is form is impermanent, and whatever is impermanent is suffering, and whatever is suffering is devoid of a self and anything that might belong to a self. That teaching may seem like enough in itself, but as Avalokiteshvara is trying to tell us, he says that if all dharmas are empty of self-existence, impermanence no longer applies. If suffering is caused by impermanence, it would be easy to construct rules about seeing impermanence as empty, and therefore judgments about the purity or impurity of self or other. But this is merely another attachment. We're just not going to get out of here with, with any ease. Well, or if maybe it's only with ease that we get out. The doctrine of suffering no longer applies because there's nothing that suffers. Impermanence and suffering do arise if there is a self, but such a self cannot be found because it is dependent on all other selves and therefore is empty. This is Dogen's, from Dogen's Genjo Koan. Conveying the self toward all things, or dharmas, to carry out practice enlightenment is delusion. All things coming and carrying out practice enlightenment through the self is realization. So returning to Okamura, we just sit down in the midst of everything. Just one more dharma in a sea of dharmas, and open our heart mind, letting go of all this thinking and analysis, and just be present. Just be presence. Just this, the middle way. The wisdom beyond wisdom, where we see everything, including ourselves, as empty. And then through compassion, we return to our ordinary lives. Because this view or non-view is inherently wise and compassionate. Okay, so my mind is a little bit blown right now. How about yours?